This right here is the 4P or 4 pages box made by Midiplus, a compact and very portable MIDI controller that you can customize to suit your live performance and studio needs. Hi guys, my name is Mfundo and welcome back to the Sonic Oasis. So in this video, I am going to review and also demonstrate this nifty little controller called the 4 pages box by Midiplus. So full disclosure, I did receive this unit from Midiplus. It was sent to me and I'm not being paid to make this video, nor am I sponsored by Midiplus. They just sent this unit and didn't tell me what to say or what to do. So this is going to be my honest review of this device and also how I would personally use it for my needs. And also there aren't many videos or demos about this device. So I'm going to try my best in this video to cover all the features and all the functionalities of this device. Also to help out future buyers as well, since the manuals and the videos you find online are actually in Chinese. So I'm going to do all of that in English. So the way that I'm going to structure this video is I'm going to split it into 4 parts, and you can feel free to skip and choose which part is relevant to you. So in the first section of this video, I'll just be covering the form factor of this device and also the layout. So in the second section, I'll be going through all the different modes and the features that it comes with. In the third section, we'll be looking at who is this device made for and what are its possible use case scenarios. And in the fourth section, I'll be exploring some of the improvements that can be made into this unit if a second rendition of it were to be made. So right off the bat, once you've unboxed this device, you'll see that it's a very simple, straightforward MIDI controller. It has a power button at the back and a USB-A, well, sort of like the printer type USB cable. And if you turn it around, you'll see that it has compartments for 2 AAA batteries. And the reason for that is it actually can work wirelessly because it has a built-in Bluetooth over MIDI. So you don't actually need the USB cable. If you're connecting it to your smartphone, you can use this device wirelessly, but I'll talk more about that later in the video. So it has a very small footprint. It's almost a square. It's 11.5 centimeters by 11 centimeters. So yeah, it's pretty much a square. So the entire unit is made of plastic, but it feels very durable for the price that you're going to pay for this. The knobs feel very solid. They do not feel flimsy at all. And the buttons are actually the same buttons you'll find on a mechanical keyboard. They are actually replaceable. So if you just lift it up, you can put in your own custom keycaps and make it your own. So it's actually called the 4P or the 4 pages box because it has 4 main modes, right? So I'm going to go through that, and this is the button that you're going to use to cycle through the modes. So I'll start off with the CC mode. The second mode is the trigger mode. Third mode is the note mode, and the last mode is the sequencer mode. So in each mode you get 3 pages. So this is page 1, page 2, and page 3. And also depending on the mode that you're in, these B1 and B2 buttons can have different functionalities. So I'll start off with the CC mode. So this is the mode that you're going to use to send control changes. You can pretty much program this to any button in your DAW and send MIDI CC messages. So as I said, each mode has 3 pages. So in the CC mode, it's the same. We have 3 pages. So what that means is that on page 1, if I press this button, it's sending a CC21 message. But if I go to my second page, the same button is sending CC29. And if I go to the third page, it's sending CC49. So with 8 buttons on 3 pages, you actually have 24 CC messages that you can program on just this one mode. And one important thing to take note of when you're in this mode specifically is that pages 1 and pages 2 are going to be toggle buttons. So what that means is that when you press down the button, it engages the CC message, and as soon as you let go, it switches it off. This might be useful in some scenarios, but not always. So if you want to put it into latch mode, you can only do that on page 3. So in page 3, all the buttons are latch mode. That means that if you press the button and let go, it will still be on. And as you can see, the light is still on. And in order to switch off the CC message, you'd have to press it again. And now it is off. So simple. Page 1 and 2 are going to be a toggle on and off. And in page 3, it's going to be on latch mode, which means you have to press it twice in order to switch it off. And in this mode, B1 and B2 can send CC messages. And in this case, B1 is sending CC3 and B2 is sending CC9. So the next mode is going to be trigger mode. But before I get to trigger mode, I want to first explain the note mode, and then I'll go back to the trigger mode because it's going to make much more sense if I start with the note mode. So the note mode is self-explanatory. Each button is a note. So your up and down buttons in this mode are actually your octave up or octave down. And then your main buttons are notes. So as you can see, it actually allows you to play chords. It also allows you to play single notes. So I'm going to switch over to a piano just to demonstrate. And if you move a page up, you move to an octave up. And on the third page, you are octave below. So basically, you're playing from C to C in a C scale. And if you want access to the chromatic notes, you have to hold the B1 button. So if this is C, then holding B1 will make it C sharp. And if this is D, then holding B1 will make it D sharp. And that's pretty much it on the note mode. So as you noticed on the note mode, when you press a key and let go, it switches it on. And as soon as I let go, it disengages. So now I'm going to head over to the trigger mode. So the trigger mode also releases notes, but they are in a latch mode. So I'm just going to switch back to the pad sound to make this point more clear. So if you are in note mode, if you hold down a button, it plays. As soon as you let go, it stops. And in trigger mode, it sustains. And if I want to switch it off again, I would just have to press the buttons again. So note mode and trigger mode are literally the same thing. Just one is a toggle switch, the other one is on latch mode. And then lastly, we have the sequencer mode. So in this mode, you get 3 pages. So on each page, you can have a separate sequencer pattern. And as you can see on B1, it's flashing. So that is your tempo. And if you want to change the tempo, you have to tap the tempo that you want. So if I want this a little bit slower, I'll have to tap the tempo. To program your own sequences in this sequencer mode, it's not that hard. You just need to choose on which steps you want the notes to trigger on, and then you actually just put the notes in those blocks. So in this instance, I've chosen these 5 steps. And if I want to put a note in this block, I'll just hold it down and then I'll choose the note that I want. So let's just say I want a C. So that's C right there. And if I want to go back to the sequencer mode again, you press the mode button. And if I hold it down again, I'll enter into the edit mode again. And if I have another sequence on another page, I can just simply switch to it by pressing the minus button. One thing to bear in mind when you are in the middle of a sequence is that the notes will keep on playing even if you move to CC mode or trigger mode or any other mode. The sequencer is constantly running in the background whether you are on that page or not. So if you don't want to actively hear notes from the sequencer, you have to literally press all these buttons off, and that's how you switch it off. Or alternatively, just go to a page that is blank, and that's how you'll stop it from triggering notes. So who is this made for, and what are some of the possible use cases? So there's a few that come to mind, and one of them is if you're a live performer and you are performing on a keyboard that doesn't necessarily have all the controls that you would get from a traditional MIDI controller. So for example, my Yamaha P95, it is a digital piano, so it doesn't have all the knobs and all the MIDI controls on it. So as a result, it can be quite a pain to control like an Ableton live session while I'm playing on the keyboard. So with the unit like this, it will allow me to trigger notes. It will allow me to mute and unmute or control the volumes of channels, all from the keyboard without ever looking at the computer. And here's an example of how that would go about. Second functionality is launching clips and launching samples. You can look at this device as sort of like a mini grid controller. So if you've seen those full-scale grid controllers, well, they're very nice, but they are not as portable because they are quite big. So something like this can give you the same functionality that you would get out of a full-scale grid controller, but it is far more portable and far more useful on the road. Number three, you can use this as a drum pad, as a portable drum pad. As I said, this has built-in Bluetooth over MIDI. At the time of recording this video, you can only connect this to an iOS device, so your iPad and your iPhone. I'm not sure about your Mac OS. I did test it with iOS and it worked. And for use case number 4 is for people who are on the move and literally cannot carry a MIDI controller around with them. So if you're one of those people who are always on the road and you just want to make music on the fly and you don't need to play technical piano parts, then this is possibly something that could work for you. So what are some of the improvements that could be made with this device if a second version were to be made? Okay, so the first one for me would be velocity sensitivity. It would be really nice if the harder you press, the higher the velocity, and the softer you press, the lower the velocity. And I mean, this could come really handy if you want to use it as a drum controller. And the second improvement that I would like to see is for this device to have a built-in memory. And the reason why I say that is that if you're in sequencer mode, like right now, if I were to switch off this device and turn it back on again, and I go back to the sequencer mode, you find that I've lost all my sequences, and that's because if you switch off the device, it erases everything. So it would be nice if you can actually store some of your sequences and recall them back whenever you need them. Also, it would be cool if you can create templates and store the templates on the device so that if I'm using it with a different DAW, I can just call up that template that I've created for that DAW, and if I switch to something else like Ableton, then I'm able to call up that template in this device that I've set up for my Ableton session. Another feature that will be very welcomed on something like this is a chord mode. So currently, if you want to play the chords, you literally have to play the chords. But if they could add chord mode into this device, just by a single press of a button can trigger a chord instead of literally playing the chord, because there isn't really much space or much buttons to work with, so a chord mode would be really helpful. And lastly is maybe the ability to use it outside of a DAW. So if you look at this device, it already looks like a macro keyboard. So it would be really cool if there was a fifth mode where you can use it as a macro keyboard outside of your DAW that you can use to launch shortcuts and like literally program actions onto one button just like you would on a traditional macro keyboard. I mean, the form factor of this device is already there, and I don't think it's would be that hard to do. I know there's already third-party software that can allow you to use any MIDI device into something like Lightroom or your editing softwares, but it would be really cool if this had a built-in mode where it had a macro mode. I actually forgot to mention the price of this device. So currently, depending on where you're buying this, you can get it for $100. So if you're looking at Amazon, you're looking roughly at $100 or even under that. There are other places where you can purchase it, such as Alibaba and AliExpress, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, prices vary from platform to platform. I could not see a way to purchase it directly from Midiplus on their website, so you'll have to depend on these retailer websites. And that was it, guys. That was the 4 pages box by Midiplus. This is actually the very first demo that I do on a physical hardware device. If you've been following this channel, you know that I've been doing a lot of software plugins and instruments, and it's actually the very first device that was sent to me by a company to review. So let me know how this went. Let me know if there's any improvements that I need to make on my part in terms of the whole presentation. And it's been quite a journey from the time I started this channel to this point, and I'm really looking forward to see us grow and go forward. And just before I close this video, I'd like to do a huge shout out to our Patreon community. Thank you very much for your continued support, and I really appreciate it. Until the next video, I will see you on the next one.